Chapter 11, Math 92. Chapter 11, homework is a long homework. There are a lot of problems, so I may go more than one video. I may split it into two videos. See how it goes. This chapter, we are talking about the second degree equation. Second degree equation has highest degree of x is 2. And there are two general formulas that we use for second degree equation. We also call it quadratic equations. Quadratic equations. Graph of this equation is the parabola. It's either open downward or upward. And we introduce equation of parabola in two different forms. We either use this formula or this one. As I go through the problem, then I discuss the main difference between these two. But they both have one thing in common, that if the value of A is a positive number, then parabola always open upward toward the positive y. If y is negative, parabola always open downward toward the negative y value. Every parabola has highest or the lowest point. This highest point here, they call it vertex. And the lowest point on the parabola is also a vertex. So you either have highest or the lowest point, which we call it vertex. This point has a coordinate, has an x and y. If you see a form of equation in like this, then h and k is your vertex. If equation is given in this format, then the vertex find from this. As I said, when we go through the example, then you understand how we apply the formula. Okay, so on this one, this graph is given already, okay? They're asking us to find the coordinates of the vertex. Where is the lowest point here? Right there. This point, what is the x and y value of this point? To find x and y value, you just go ahead and say, okay, well, x is -2, and what is the y value? 15. So this point, y is 15 and x is -2. Lowest point of the graph is the vertex. To find the coordinates of this point means to find x and y, that's how you do it. So -2 and 15 is the vertex. Then, next question, for what value of x is the graph increasing? See, graph is increasing in these directions here, okay? And as long as x is greater than -2, so if you think of the number line, look, number line is the negative here and positive here, right? So let's say -2 is here. As you go to the right, numbers are all increasing. So that means if you go greater than -2, the function is decreasing. As you go from -2 to the left, the numbers are decreasing. So if you go from -2 all the way to -infinity, function decreasing. If you go from -2 all the way to +infinity, function increasing. From -2 to +infinity increasing, and going from -2 toward the -infinity is decreasing. So here they're asking you, find the x value that the graph is decreasing, x less than -2. X is less than, if x is less than -2 means you're going toward the negative direction. Find the intercept. What is intercept? If you have, let's say you have this graph, I have x and y axis. And I have a line, this line intercept the x-axis at that point. They call this x-intercept. What is coordinates of this point? This point, since lie on the x-axis, it doesn't have any y value. So y is 0. What is the x? +2. So when we ask you to find the x-intercept, means find coordinates of the point that my straight line intersect the x-axis. Now, what about this point? This point, we call it y-intercept. We call it y-intercept because this is a place that my straight line hit the y-axis. Does this has any value for x? No. So x is always 0. But what's the value of y? Well, let's say this is like -3. That's how to find the x and y intercept. Well, let's say you have now something like this. We have a graph. Like that. Is the parabola, all right? And this is a y-axis. All right. This graph or this parabola hit the y-axis at this point. The point that my graph hit the y-axis, they call this y-intercept. And how do I find the coordinates of that point? This point doesn't have any x. So x is 0. What's the value of y? From here to here is 3, +3. My parabola or my graph also hit the x-axis at 2 points. These 2 points, they call it x-intercept. Do they have any y? No, because they lie on x-axis. So this point, they don't have any y is 0, comma. What is the x? What's this distance? 5. And this one, there is no y, because x-intercept doesn't have any y. What is the x from here to here? -2. So in these problems, your x-intercept, there are 2 of them, but there is only y-intercept. So anytime we give you equation and we ask you to find y-intercept, you need to set 0 for x and find the y value. If we ask you to find x-intercept, then you need to set 0 for y and find the x value. So that's the rule for x and y-intercept. Again, y-intercept is where the graph hit the y-axis. And x-intercept is where the graph hit the x-axis. Okay, so so that's why in these problems, when they say find the horizontal intercept, I don't have any. Why not? My graph does not hit the x-axis. So I don't have any x-intercept, none. How about the y-intercept? My graph hit the y-axis at this point. This point doesn't have any x, but y is 20. So what is the y-intercept? Y-intercept is 0 and 20. This one, find the vertex. Again, vertex is the lowest point. What is the coordinates of this point? If you want to read, just go like that and like this. So x is from here to here and y is from there. It's -4 and -20. Is x increase? What's the value that x increasing? Again, remember, this is like the vertex is almost at -4, right? So when you go to the right, function increase. When you go to the left, function decrease. So when x is greater than -4, function increase. When x is less than -4, function decrease. And then they ask us to find the x and y-intercept. X-intercept, these two places, look, here and here. These two places, my graph hit the x-axis, and it doesn't have any y. Y is always 0. So in that case, those 2 points are -10, 0, and 2 and 0. See, they don't have any y. What about the y-intercept? Y-intercept is right this point. This point. Does it have any x? No. X is always 0 because it's on the y-axis. And what is the value of y? -11. Then they ask you to find f of 4. What does that mean, f of 4? F of 4 means, let's say you have an equation. They didn't give it to us, right? And we know that y is always f of x. So when we say f of 4 means when x is 4, what is the y value? You don't have the equation, but you have the graph. F of 4 means x is 4, find the y value. So what you do is you go to the graph and find the 4 here. You find the value of 4. This is x equal 4, right? And then if you want, you draw a line. You go up to see where that hit the graph, right? And then you go this way to read your y value. This point, x is 4. And what's the y value according to this? It's almost, well, it should be somewhere here. So almost 16, if you do it exactly, okay? So you go up and then left to find your y value. So these problems are very similar, like in this one. Find the vertex. Vertex is the highest point here. It's here, okay? What's the coordinates of this point? X is almost 5, and what's the y value when you go from here to here? Y is this part. This part is y. Let me see if I can go closer so you could actually see what's going on here. Okay, so what is the vertex? This x is almost 5. And what is the y value? It said it's almost 4 when you go this way. X increasing and decreasing. Remember, again, the vertex, x of vertex is 5. So when you go from 5 to the positive infinity, increase. From 5 to negative infinity, function decrease. So when x is less than 5, function decrease. When x is greater than 5, function increase. Okay, this is your border point. Where is this? This is a vertex. This is this point. All right. Find the x-intercept. Again, they ask you to read coordinates of this point, 2 points. These are x-intercept, right? What is the y-intercept? This is a y-intercept. And then they're saying find f of 3. Find f of 3. That means when x is 3, find the y value. Okay, so where is x equal 3 is right here. What is the y value here? 0. See, this point. This point is on the parabola. X is 3, but there is no y, which is also the x-intercept. They give you this graph, okay? They ask a question, is there an x-intercept? No, this graph would never intersect the x-axis. See, this is x-axis. See, it doesn't intersect the x-axis, this graph. So no x-intercept. What about the y-intercept? It's right here. What's the coordinates of this? It's like 16, 17. So there is a y-intercept. They just ask you to tell whether it's a y-intercept or x-intercept or both. There is a y-intercept, no x-intercept, because the graph would never touch the x-axis. They're saying that here, which of this parabola, well, you don't see the picture of the other one, which one has only one horizontal intercept? This one or that? My graph touched the x-axis at only 1 point here, but here it hit at 2 points. We are asking you to tell which graph has only one x-intercept. Right here, this one have one x-intercept. Again, x-intercept is where my graph intersect or touch the x-axis. They ask you to find the vertex. You read the coordinates of this point. You just measure what is the x and what is the y, okay? They say x is minus 3.5 and y is almost negative 4. They also ask you for equation of the axis of symmetry. You know, in any parabola, there is a line that split the parabola, and that line starts from the vertex. Let's say on this one example, you see that this is a vertex, right? If you draw the line that split the parabola, they call this line of symmetry. It's not a good picture here. Or if you have the parabola like that, if there is a line that split the parabola, they call this line of symmetry. Why? Because what it does is it split this into 2 equal pieces here. They call it a line of symmetry. What is the equation of this? Is equation of this line. What is equation of this line here? It's x of vertex. See, x of vertex is minus 3, right? So equation is x is minus 3.5. You know, in algebra, when we ask you to graph x equal 3, how do I graph x equal 3? You just say, okay, well, this is x on y axis. Let me see. You go on the x-axis, you find 3. You draw the line, that's x equal 3. When they ask you to graph x equal 3, that's how you do it. What if I ask you to graph like x equal -5? It's a vertical line. X equal a number is always a vertical line because it doesn't have any y value. See? Here. So you go on the x-axis, you find -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is -5, right? And you draw the vertical line here. This is x equal -5. X equal a number is a vertical line because it doesn't have any y value. But for parabola, a line that goes through the vertex and goes straight, the vertical line, that is line of symmetry. What is the equation? Is x equal whatever x of vertex is. See, this point, x is from here to here, right? Which is -3. So line of symmetry here is x equal to minus, I think this, they said 3.5, -3.5. X equal -3.5. Which point is a vertex? The highest point. What's the coordinates? 3 and 2. What is the line of, what is axis of symmetry or equation of the symmetry? From here, remember, from the vertex. You draw the line. This line would intersect. And what is the equation of this line? X equal is always x of the vertex. Why? Because what's the distance from here to here? 3. So x equal 3 is equation of line of symmetry. All right. Here they say in and it said, is this value positive or negative for the line of symmetry? They just say A, but what do they ask for the A? You know, parabola is written in equation of parabola is given in this form, okay? A determine whether parabola open upward or onward. If the equation is given in this form, A is a number sitting next to x2. If the equation is written in this form, A is a number outside the parentheses. If A is positive, parabola open upward. If A is negative, parabola open downward. In this problem, parabola open downward. So if the parabola open downward, A is less than 0. See? A is the negative. What is the A? Negative because parabola open downward. If the equation is in this form, H and K are coordinates of the vertex. In this problem, you don't have the equation. But when they say what is H and K means, find the coordinates of the vertex. What is, see, find the vertex, in the vertex form, find H and K. That basically means what's the coordinates of the vertex? Here, 3 and 2. So you put that number here, 3 and 2. What is the symmetric point to the point 5 and -2? What they're asking is this. 5 this point. X is 5, y is -2. See, the first number is always x and the second number is y. Find these numbers. X5, Y is -2. Okay, let's see. X is 5 and Y is -2 is this. Is this point. This point, X is 5 and Y is -2. They say find the symmetric point. That means from this point, you need to draw a vertical line to this, a line with angle of 90 degrees to this. Point symmetric to this is this. They want you to read coordinates of that. Coordinates of this line is X is 1. And what is the Y value? -2. This point is X equal to 1. Y is -2. That's the symmetric to this point. 1 and -2. You see that? X is from here to here. And Y is this, -2. Now, this problem's equation is given to you and the graph. First, they ask you to find the vertex. Vertex is this point, right? You could either read it through the graph or what is the general equations? The general equation, there were two forms. One was this form, remember? And H and K is your vertex. So that's the one that you have here. Is this. This one is that, right? So let me write it so you could see it. It's A x minus h to power of 2 plus 7. All right? I'm sorry, plus k. All right? So what is your k? 7. What is your h? 5. So what's the coordinates of the vertex? H and k, which is 5 and 7. You see? 5 and 7. Which is coordinates of this. You could verify that. X is 5, from here to here is 5, and here is almost 7. Height is 7. They ask you to find y-intercept. It's this point. What's the coordinates of this point? No x. X is 0. But y is 32. Right? Y-intercept. This is y-intercept. Remember, y-intercept doesn't have any x. But the y is from here to here is 32. Now, point symmetric to 3 and 11. Where is this point 3 and 11? X is 3 and y is 11, so it's like here. This is the point. What is the symmetric to this? Well, this is the line of symmetry, which is always a vertical line, right? And so if you want to find symmetric to this, means you got to go this way like that. They want you to read this. This point is symmetric to this when you draw the line perpendicular to this. What is the coordinates of this point? 7 and 11. Okay, that's what they want you to do. When they say symmetric from that point, they give you this point, 3 and 11. 3 and 11. They say from this point, find the symmetric. So that point you find it first is here. And then you draw the line perpendicular to this, and this is the symmetric point 7 and 11. Same thing in these problems, you know. You write the general equations. Is a times x minus h to power of 2 plus k. So h is 5, k is 4. So the vertex is h and k, or 5 and 4, okay? Which is here. Five and y is 4. Okay, that's the vertex. And then it said find a point. Find a point. First of all, vertical intercept. What is vertical intercept? This point. The point that hit the graph, right? Which is 29. What is the symmetric to 3 and 8? 3 and 8. 3 and 8, again, you just go and find 3 and 8 somewhere here. All right, and draw the line of symmetry, and then go boom, straight. Go like that. I want you to read coordinates of this point, which they're saying is 7 and 8. This point they're saying is 7 and 8. They want you to sketch the graph. They assume that you don't have the graph. Okay. In this case, you look to see the equation is given. Does it look like this, or it has a parenthesis like that? It's this one, right? See? So let's say instead of t, use x, okay? It's like this, y equal 2x2 minus 15. We know general equation is this, ax2 plus bx plus c, okay? So obviously there is no b here. Means if I want to write that equation, I can write it like this, 2x2 plus 0x plus c. So that means you don't have any b in this problem. B is 0. What is the value of a? A is 2. And if the value of a, if this value is greater than 0, means parabola open upward. So you know from this, see, I did too fast. If the a is positive, means parabola open outward. Okay, so we know parabola open upward, like this. Then I need to find the vertex. They are saying x of vertex, in this case, x of vertex is minus b over 2a. Okay, so x of vertex is minus b over 2a. But b is 0. It doesn't matter what the a is, x is 0. My vertex so far, x is 0. What is the y value? How do I find the y value for the vertex? What you do is, in this general formula, when you find the x and you want to find the y, whatever the x is, you always take that and substitute in this equation to find the y. Again, remember, if the equation is given you in this form, and you want to find x and y of the vertex, x is always minus b over 2a. When you find the x, take these numbers, substitute here for x to find the y value, okay? In our case, x is 0, so when I put it here, both is gone, so what is left is this, 0. If I take that 0 and put it here in this equation for x, all is left is negative 15. So the vertex is 0 and minus 15, which is this point. All right, so we know the vertex is this, we know the parabola going upward. And then they ask you to find the point of symmetry. You know how to do that. Now here they are talking about domain and range. You know, this graph, as far as the y doesn't go above this, above here. Is end at here, at 16, from here to, so the graph doesn't go beyond 16, see, beyond 16. So the range is always the y value. Y doesn't go beyond 16. So y is always from negative infinity and 16. You know why negative? Because look, this is negative infinity for the y, and this is positive infinity for the y. You see that? So graph can go all the way toward minus infinity. But it doesn't go above y equals 16. See, this is y equals 16. The graph doesn't go above that. So that's the range. Domain is always x. X goes all the way, you know, if I want to exaggerate this, you see something like this. X goes all the way to negative infinity and positive infinity for the x, okay? The graph always go to positive, and you know how it stands? This is always the x, and this is the y. So domain is all the number, it goes all the way from minus infinity to positive infinity. Domain, this one goes all the way to here and here. So x goes to all the way to positive infinity and negative infinity. Domain is, it goes from negative infinity and positive. What about the range? What about the y value? Why the value doesn't go? The graph is not below here. The graph is stopped right at here, -9. It doesn't go below -9. Y equals -9 is the lowest point of this y. It doesn't go below. So you just say domain is all the way from -9 to infinity. It means go from negative infinity up the y, but not below. Let me make sure that you understand. Let's say I have a frame here. Let's say this is your x and y, right? And I have a graph like this. On the horizontal axis, let's say if this is like one, right? And here would be -5. X, see the graph, x goes from negative infinity to negative 5 to 1. That's where the x is. X goes all the way from here to here. Domain, which is the x, it goes to -5 and 1. What about the y value or the range? Y value goes from, let's say this is 3. It goes from positive 3 all the way to here, to negative 5. See, between this is negative 3 and negative 5, right? See, if I turn it, look, it goes from negative 3 to negative 5. That's the range, is the Y value. So the Y value for the range is between negative 3 and 1. When you have a problems, and this is like this, you know, the X goes all the way from positive infinity to negative infinity. But what about the Y value? Y is go from here to here. Okay, I mean go all the way here to negative infinity, but here what? Let's say it's 5. Okay, so for the Y is always between negative infinity to 5, right? But X is between positive infinity to minus infinity, something like that. Okay, so all right, next is we want to see how we solve the problems with the equations like this. You know, when you have these equations like a to power of 2 is equal to 9. When we ask you to solve this, means find the a value. What number to power of 2 is 9? You might say, well, just 3. A is 3. There is another one besides 3. What is that? I say it's negative 3. Why? Because 3 to power of 2 is 9. That's correct. But negative 3 also to power of 2 is 9. Why? Because negative 3 is negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. See, there are always two numbers. Let's say you have something like this. X2 is 16. Find the number that then you raise to the power of 2 is 16. Well, one is 4. And the other one is negative 4. You have to put a parenthesis around it. Because that one also is negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. So there are two numbers that you could substitute for X and give you 16. How do I find that? You know, when you want to find it using the calculator or in algebra, that's how you do it. You say A2 is 9, okay? What you do is you put a square root here. You put a radical here and radical there, but make sure that on this side you always have a plus or minus radical A. So what happens is here, when you put a radical, 2 and 2 cancel and A is released. So A is plus or minus radical 9, which when you use the calculator is plus or minus 3. Okay? Or like here, X2 is 16. So you put a radical on both sides. You don't have to, eventually you don't have to put it on this side anymore because you know you are going to have X. What is plus or minus radical 16 is a plus or minus 4. So from now on, when you have equations like here, B2 equal 81, you just say B is, I don't have to put the radical on this side anymore. Just say B is a plus or minus radical 81, which is plus or minus 9. Plus or minus 9 means you have two answers. One is negative 9 and one is positive 9, okay? To do that, you want to make sure that your variable doesn't have any numbers. So I can't do it because there is a 2 sitting next to y2. So what I do is first I divide both sides by 2. So y2 is 34, is it? Or 36? 36. Okay. Now y is plus or minus radical 36, which is plus or minus 6. So in order to do that, you want, before you take a square root of both sides, you want to make sure that your variable doesn't have any number here next to it. See? It shouldn't have any number next to it. So I couldn't do it because there is a 2. It should be just variable by itself. It shouldn't have any number. That's why I have to divide it by 2. Like this one, I write it as, I'll move 48 to the other side first. Divide both sides by 3. See, variable now is alone. And x is plus or minus radical 16, which we said is plus or minus 4. Okay? A ball is dropped from a bridge that is 40 feet. This equation is given. How long will it take for the ball to be at height of 25? Means h is 25. They want you to find the t. Because h is the height. Second part, how long would it take? On the second part, they want you to find the t. When it said, how long will it take for the ball to hit the surface? Means when you hit the surface, there is no h. H is 0. So what they're asking you is, when h is 0, what is the t value? All right. So I have solution for that one here. This is for part A. Means part A, they are saying that if this side is 25, what is the value of t? So what you do is you write this is equal to 25, and then you solve it to find the t value. Okay. So you could copy that. It's all just solving the equation. Remember here, we are trying to have t2 by itself, so we divide both sides by minus 16, not even by 16, by minus 16. You always want to have variable alone with a positive here, not even minus, but a positive. And then you take a square root of both sides. Then you use your calculator. A square root of, open a parenthesis in the calculator, put 15 divided by 16 and close. So when you want to do this kind of calculation, open this first, okay? Then open a parenthesis. Just say 15 divided by 16. Then close the parentheses. Then hit the equal sign, okay? To get these numbers. It's better to put the parentheses. Or you could just do the hand calculation, find 15 divided by 16, and then go ahead and take a square root of that. But again, if you don't want to do that, just find the radical first, open a parenthesis. In the parentheses, you have 15 divided by 16. Close the parentheses, and then that gives you this number. Second part, they are saying that when they hit the water, means h is 0. This is what happened when h is 0. When h is 0, find the t. Means you had h here before, right? Now it's 0. Next is another formula, we call it Pythagorean theory. What is Pythagorean theory? If you have a 90-degree triangle, this is in geometry. If you have a 90-degree triangle, so this angle is, when you see this box here, that means it's 90 degree. There is a relationship exists between, among all three sides. It's the longest side, or hypothesis, or the longest side, hypotenuse, is equal to perfect square of each side. So this is the formula. From this formula, if we give you these two, they call these legs. There are two legs here. If we give you these two, the length of these two, the value of these two, and ask you to find the C, you find it from this formula. If we give you the length of the longest side and one of the leg, length of one of these, then that's how to find the other leg. Okay? The 90-degree triangle can be written in any form. You might even see it like this. As long as you see a 90-degree angle, then you could use the, the formula. So this formula apply to 90-degree triangle, only to 90-degree triangle. So here, look, in these problems, the longest side is given, one of the leg is given, they ask you to do that. You just put it into that number. So if the longest side is given on one of the leg, that's how you find out. Another one here. Is a 90-degree triangle, okay? Again, hypotenuse of the longest side and one leg is given. You put it here. Remember here, don't just write 15 minus 12. Don't do that. Just take this number, raise it to power of 2. Take this number, raise it to power of 2. Subtract, then take a square root. In this one, longest side is unknown. Hypotenuse is unknown. Length of two legs are given. Both are 8. So you just put it here. So we just follow the formula. They're saying that there is a foundation of the room is 36 by 7. And you have the 90-degree triangle here. Okay. It's 36 by 27. Dimension of the room is given. So in this triangle, C is unknown. So 36 from here to here, 27 from here. The longest side is unknown. Look at these problems. Kasha installed awning above window, and he wants to use 30 feet ladder. The length is 30 feet, and it's 22 feet up. He wants to know how far from the wall he has to put the base of the ladder. Base of the ladder from the wall. So A is unknown. Means longest side is given and one of the leg, and that's how you find it. So again, this video has, I have two parts for number 11 because there are a lot of problems. So that's video number 1.